to left center field. Back it goes and gone. The 0-2 pitch. He struck him out swinging at 101. Swinging a drive, left field and deep. Back it goes and gone. And the Twins walk it off again.
All right, it's Friday at 9:35. We get to visit with Cory Provus, voice of the Minnesota Twins on Twins TV. His appearance is brought to us by Welton's Tire Service. Twins are back at home tonight to take on the Washington Nationals. Then the Red Sox come in after a road trip of missed opportunities against Colorado and the Dodgers. You were with us last week. You said if the Twins don't win that series with the Rockies, it's going to have to cause some decisions. They didn't, so here we are. We're 6 days out, and it seems like the vultures are circling on this baseball team right now.
And I think that, unfortunately, that Rockies series was kind of it. That in terms of who they trade, they're going to make moves. And I just, this team will not be the same when we chat a week from today. Yeah. But I'm curious as to if they trade certain guys. I don't think the season's over. But if they move Joe Ryan, if they move Joan Duran, if they move Griffin Jacks, then I think, how do you honestly say that they're still looking to contend this year? There's just, I can't tell you that, to keep my credibility, I can't tell you that. But if they trade Willie Castro, if they trade Harrison Bader, if they trade Chris Paddock, Brock Stewart, Danny Coulomb, they certainly decrease their chances down to be a playoff team. But still, I think it's more about the guys they move in terms of where this thing goes. But the Rockies series, I thought, was pivotal. It just can't lose that series. Yeah. The Rockies had yet to win a home series all year. And the fact they won 2 out of 3, I think, pretty much kind of put the Twins in a spot where they have to be pretty active in selling off some assets here.
We had this conversation last year, and I read the story from the Star Tribune before you came on, and it caused my memory to go back just now that last year at the deadline, there were no top 100 prospects traded. So that, again, you have to, if you're a Twins fan, they go, oh, we might get a haul back. You have to. Teams aren't doing that anymore, Cory, at the deadline, unless you got to be blown away by something or offer a Joe Ryan who's got multiple years of team control to get a haul back.
And I still think that the Twins, they're not looking 5 years down the road here. Yeah. And they have players right now that are in kind of this window to contend. So something we talked about, Trevor Plouffe and I, during the Dodgers series. The Dodgers have been renowned to have this great farm system. Fine. This year, and this is MLB.com, and this may be different with Baseball America, Baseball Perspectives, and Pipeline, all that stuff, but MLB.com, 7 of the top 10 Dodger prospects, either A-ball or rookie ball. So if you make a trade with the Dodgers, you might be looking at guys that are 18, 19 years old that who the heck knows, and they may impact your team 3 years down the road. That doesn't seem to fit kind of where the Twins are at right now. I think they're trading away some players that still can keep them relevant this year, but certainly built to contend again for 2026. I hope they don't trade Joe Ryan. I think Joe Ryan is an ace, and you have a healthy Pablo and a Joe Ryan. There's a 1-2. That's a great place to start. You've got a really good top of your rotation. You got a 1 and you got a 2. Great. And then build from around there. Yep. And for the Twins, forever drafting, developing, acquiring front line starting pitching kept this team back for decades. I mean, a long time. Well, they have something now. So don't just part ways with that just because the 25 season hasn't gone accordingly. The 25 season hasn't gone accordingly because too many players did not meet expectation, did not come close to preseason projections. So I just hope they don't just say, okay, we have to tear this thing down to the studs and start all over again. I don't think it's that drastic. And I would imagine that the Derek Falvey and his team think the same way.
We mentioned this before as we're going to look at the Central standings. The Tigers have been moonwalking backwards here as of late. The Twins are 10 out. Are you still of the mindset, at least I am, that the division race is out of reach?
Yes. Yeah, I think they can't look at that. They can't look at let's put all our chips in now because we think we can win this division, even though we have 6 games left with the Tigers. Detroit, I think has won only one time since the All-Star break.
That's amazing.
Serves. Yeah, they have not played well, but Cleveland's played a little bit better. Kansas City's played marginally better. But they picked up maybe a game or two. But the fact that nobody's picked up 5 or 6 games on the Tigers, I think, is pretty telling and how sizable Detroit's leads. I'm with you. I think that going into this trade deadline, I think the idea of where we could slot in playoff time has to be more wild card driven than anything else. I think shooting for the division right now is a long shot.
So the wild card today, Boston holds the last spot, which is important because the Twins are obviously playing the Red Sox next week. They're 5 games back, but in front of them, they're 1, 2, 3, 4 teams. I mean, you got to start winning games, and you got to, in my theory, you probably got to sweep Boston if you're going to have a realistic chance here.
Well, even with Red Sox, if they win 2 out of 3, they win the season series.
Yeah.
Remember, the Twins won 2 out of 3 at Fenway back in May. So tiebreaker number 1 is head-to-head. So, and the Twins don't own many tiebreakers right now with the other contending teams. So that's on my radar a little bit, and why Rocco might chase some of those Red Sox games in a way that he won't perhaps this weekend against Washington.
Okay.
That if you're thinking about playoff time, remember the tiebreaker is the number 1 difference maker, that considering what the Twins did at Fenway earlier, have a chance to do again next week at Target Field, I think is important.
It's interesting to just how this plays out, because it's always, this is how I look at it, Corey. I'm not sure if you do. It's not necessarily the games back. It's the teams you got to leap over in the wild card. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, too many. I mean, you're right. I mean, if you're great, you might be only 3 out, but there's 6 other teams that might be in that same situation. So, yes, I think there's some validity to what you said, Dom, that, yes, in terms of numerical difference, it doesn't seem that drastic, but how many teams do you need to get help from in order to get to that spot? So that I think that certainly plays a big factor here.
And again, you can't take anybody for granted, especially what happened last weekend with the Rockies, because here come the Nationals, and the Nationals are in last, but they have their ace going tonight. Mackenzie Gore's throwing tonight, who's a lefty who's really good, and you got to start off with a win. This guy's going to be tough to hit against tonight.
He's really good.
Yeah.
He was the key piece in the Juan Soto trade with San Diego and Washington a couple of years ago. He's really good, and I'm excited to see James Wood take BP at Target Field. He can hit. C.J. Abrams is a good player. He also came in that same Juan Soto trade. So Washington has some pieces. Get to that bullpen, though. That bullpen is not very good. Defensively, it's not been a great season. But, yeah, the guy tonight is no joke. And then neat on Sunday, Jake Irvin is going to throw. He's from Bloomington, Minnesota. Grew up a huge Twins fan. They saw him last year in D.C., but I'm sure he's going to have a ton of emotion and family and friends in town to see him pitch for the Nationals at Target Field on Sunday.
For people that haven't seen the Nationals play, and I understand why, because of the Nationals, but James Wood is the real, 6'7", right? I mean, he's a huge dude.
Huge dude. Hits the ball 5 miles. So, yeah, he was in the home run derby with Buxton. Yeah, he's a stud. Yeah. I mean, he's a stud. He can really hit. And, yes, that'll be a good challenge for Zebby and Ryan and everybody this weekend. We'll see what the Twins do on Sunday, because that was going to be David Festa's next term, but he's obviously out on the IL with a bad shoulder. But, yeah, Washington has some intriguing pieces. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but they fired their manager. They fired their GM earlier this season. So it's been some turmoil there in D.C., and they play in a brutal division that the NL East is just loaded with high payroll, high talent that you got to be all in. Otherwise, there's just too many big market teams that are spending and tough to keep up with that group, with the teams they see in that divisional, that division that they see all those games and all those series throughout the year.
Email comes in to ask Corey, I know you've seen Ohtani play in person, but to see him hit 3 home runs in 3 straight days and pitch, does that give you even more respect for what you saw this past 3 days?
He's the most talented player to ever play the game. Now, is he the best player to ever play? I don't think that's fair, because I think that Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, you can go down the list. They played in a different era, but they were also Hall of Famers, the game's all-time greats. But were they as talented as Ohtani? Probably not. I mean, I think that's pretty fair to say with what this guy can do. So I think he's the most talented player. But is he the best? I think that's more subjective, and I think people are entitled to their opinion. But what I saw and what we all saw was incredible. The fact that he homered off that Joan Duran, splinker 98 down and away, went left field at night like no big deal. I mean, it's something else. And I know it led to a lot of debate about the decision Rocco made on Wednesday. I got it. It made sense to me that,
Yeah.
his explanation. And you've got a guy in Asturi Ruiz who hadn't walked all year. He's got 4 hits all year. He's known more for his legs than his bat. Just Griffin can't walk him.
No.
Just cannot
No.
walk him. And then Freddie Freeman was trouble. I think we all saw that coming. But I'd be interested to hear Glenn Perkins' take on that, because I didn't listen, but how he felt about that, being a closer himself and saying Ohtani's the best player in the game.
Go
We
after
get
him.
all that, but are you telling me I can't get him out with the game on the line?
Yeah.
Griffin said as much, that he was a little surprised by it.
Yep.
I think he wanted that matchup. He's a competitor. But I get why Rocco did it, because I just didn't think Griffin was going to walk Ruiz there with the game on the line.
You just can't have that. We got another email we can get in here before the break, was because the minor leagues allow for a review on a check swing. What's the holdup on the majors to do that? Because obviously that was the whole deal with the Mookie Betts at bat that happened before that. Do you know if that's allowed in the minors right now?
I know they've been talking about it.
Okay.
I know they've tried it maybe in the fall league, but to my knowledge, that's not true.
Okay.
That it's not yet a reviewable play in pro ball. I know they dabbled with it here a little bit, and there's discussion that is going to be a challenge. You can review that play in the future, but you have to first come up with what is the definition of a swing.
Correct.
Because that's not. There's nothing in the rule book that says this is what the swing is.
Right.
What I learned from Bill Schroeder, longtime big league catcher with the Brewers and other teams, and he's been calling games on TV with the Brewers forever. His view of the swing is not so much the break of the wrist, but does the barrel cross the front of the plate. That's how he always viewed, to him, what a swing is and what a swing is not. And I've always gone by that guideline, but it's just my own and his own guideline. It's not in the rule book. But Mookie Betts certainly swung. I think by however you define what a swing is and what it is and what it isn't, it was a call that obviously hurt the Twins, went against them, should have ended the game. It didn't, and we know how the rest of the story played out. But I think that's coming. It would, but to my knowledge, that's not yet a reviewable play in any semblance of pro ball.
Good stuff there. We'll break, come back. We'll look ahead to what the Twins have with both Washington and Boston, a couple other topics on baseball. With Cory Provus joining us, Twins and Nats coming up tonight. We're back on Hot Mic right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up our first hour. Back with Cory Provus. His appearance is brought to us by Welton's Tire Service. We got Twins and the Nationals coming up tonight. Cory was just telling me him and Denard Span will be on the call on Twins TV for the next 3 days. Got a night game tonight, night game tomorrow with Bailey Ober's City Connect jersey tomorrow night. And then that kids back to school backpack, that just makes me shake my head. Like, we're not ready for that yet, but that's coming up on Sunday.
It's coming. I know.
I'm not ready
coming.
for that yet. We're looking at it where the ball club is. And obviously, I'm sure you've been asked about this a ton in any interview you do about what the deadline is. When you're down there, you interact with these guys. Is it a nerve-wracking time? What is it like in the clubhouse when we're so close to knowing there's likely going to be some moves happening?
You know who's most impacted by this are the wives.
Mm.
This is a nerve-wracking time for the wives and their family and the kids and all that stuff because of the unknown. And wait a minute, we were going to do what? We have this place here, and now we have to move somewhere else, but we don't know how long we're going to be there for. And then, kids develop great friendships with other players and their families. For the players, it's like, all right, it's a business. They get it. And they just, will pack up their stuff. And many of them are pretty pumped because they're wanted and they're going to a contending team.
Yep.
And that's what I thought Gardy had this line, and it was so true, that if you were rumored to be traded, that should be a good thing because you're wanted to join a contending team that would only enhance their chances to theoretically be better, win the division, win a playoff series, and maybe win the whole thing. So he always thought it was flattering when a guy was being discussed in the rumor mill about being dealt. But I think the players that they know who they are. I mean, I think they know where they're at, their contract status. They're well aware of their team situation. That for many of them, I think if they're traded, they shouldn't be surprised by it. But the impact that it has is not to say that it doesn't mean anything to them, but it really falls on their significant other's shoulders
Yeah.
and their family in terms of how do we pack up and move on to the next and start anew. That could be pretty traumatic for some families, especially for families with young kids.
The first real big deal went down last night. Seattle got Josh Naylor from the Diamondbacks. The Mariners we just saw a little bit ago. I mean, Seattle looks like we talked about when they played the Twins, I think back in May, of how dynamite a series that was. This looks like an intriguing team to me that Seattle could maybe beat somebody when we get to September and October.
I love their team, and they had the pitching, couldn't hit. And now they've got the big dumper doing just,
Yep.
amazing record-setting things behind the plate. And Julio Rodriguez is hitting home runs. Randy Arozarena, he's a Twins killer. He's killing everybody else right now. Dangerous team in a short series because Brian Wu has been awesome. Logan Gilbert
really
was better
good
the other night when he pitched and broke Milwaukee's winning streak. They've got arms, man. If they can get their starters back, and George Kirby throwing the way that he's thrown in the past, and the power they have in that bullpen with Andres Munoz at the back end, yeah, Seattle would not be, I think, a fun matchup for any team, no matter what seed in any short series.
Another email comes in to ask Cory from last week your appearance or your thoughts on being out of Coors Field for a team that's biblically bad to have the kind of attendance they had. It looked and sounded great on television. You were out there. Give us the atmosphere. It looked like it was fantastic.
No. What they had for those 3 games, they probably had over 115,000 fans for those 3 games.
Wow.
And a lot of Twins fans, which was great to see. And I think Twins fans that went will say, like, there's a reason why people go, because the ballpark's nice. It's a great view. Great food. It's a good size. There's a lot to do. You stay downtown, you walk to the park. And I know much is made about the right field that they have, and it's like a $15 ticket. And then I think you can get in 2 hours before the game, and every beer or not every beer. I think Coors Light is like $3 a beer. That's great, but I would buy it if that's the only section that is filled. I'd be like, okay, people just go and they hang out in right field. But that's not the case, Tom. You look in the grandstands, you look in the upper decks, and it is packed there. So it's more than just right field is cool. It's a fun place to hang out if you're in your 20s and 30s and you want to meet somebody and have a good time. I don't discount that. But the other areas of the ballpark are packed.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing credit to their fan base and to that city and to what that place offers, because it is really pretty. It is really something to see. And I think Twins fans that went there now, I think in 2 years would be like, hey, I'd go back in a heartbeat. It's not that hard to get to. It's a short flight from here. And it's a really nice ballpark. And it's amazing that they show up in the way that they do, considering how bad they've been this season as a team.
Couple other things here. It's a Hall of Fame weekend. I feel old now that Ichiro's in the Hall of Fame with Billy Wagner and CC Sabathia, but you called all these guys. Is there a memory from any of those that sticks out of games you saw in person for any of those 3?
Yeah, I mean, CC Sabathia, what stands out was when he was traded to Milwaukee in 2008. I was with the Cubs, but I got a chance to see Sabathia. He would start sometimes on like 3 days rest.
Yep.
I mean, he was willing that team, which I don't think the Brewers had been to the playoffs since like 82. I think they had this incredible playoff drought from 82 to maybe 2008. I think it was. So seeing Sabathia will that team and literally, like Kirby said, get on my back and I'll carry you. He carried that team into the playoffs, and I think they won 1 game against the Mets and then were knocked out. But seeing Sabathia firsthand in all the matchups the Cubs and Brewers had the second half, do what he did, man, that was something else. Watching Ichiro was a treat, and, hearing stories about him when Paul Molitor was his hitting coach and Lou Piniella was even his manager, hearing stories from Lou, especially about Ichiro, and, Lou would get on and be like, it's great you can do all this stuff the other way, but can you ever pull the ball? Can you hit the ball? And so Ichiro always knew more English than he let on to believe. And so after Lou challenged him one day, saying, like, can you pull the ball? He hit a home run, like his first at bat. And he gets back in the dugout. He walks up to his manager and says, happy? And then just kept on walking. So things like that. And then Billy Wagner, seeing, a left-handed power, dominant
Yes.
closer. who I think, I don't know if he ever said he was ambidextrous, but he could also throw a ball right-handed really well.
Wow.
I mean, he tells some great stories about, he would have some throwing contests with teammates, and, he'd say, like, I bet I can throw a ball farther than you can right-handed. And they'd be like, no chance. And he would do it, and he'd win a lot, too. So Pablo Lopez, by the way, he's pretty close in that, too. Pablo Lopez, seeing him throw a football, even just mess around with a baseball left-handed, it'll blow you away.
That's wild.
It'll blow you away. How
That's
good
awesome.
that is.
Great to see you as always, my man. Have a great call this weekend. We'll chat next week, okay?
Thanks, Dom.
Cory Provus joins us each and every Friday. His appearance is brought to us by Welton's Tire Service. We got Twins and the Nationals coming up tonight. First pitch a little after 7 o'clock at Target Field. It's a night game tomorrow, then a day game on Sunday to wrap up the series. We'll wrap up our first hour. We come back. Hour 2 begins. Eric Martinson will join us, UND Deputy AD, about a big home schedule and those new UND hockey jerseys. We'll chat about that when we start Hour 2 on this Friday. We're back after this.